Om Stapakaya ca dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Stapakaya ca dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara varishtaya Ramakrishna te namaha Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityormamritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the darkness of ignorance, to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic, Guru's grace vital for spiritual progress. The success of spiritual life depends on the love and devotion of the disciple towards the Guru. He must have tremendous reverence and respect and implicit faith in the words of the Guru. Here, Guru, I mean the spiritual master, the one whose mind is dwelling in God all the time and who is practicing spirituality in his daily life. When he speaks what he means. So, whatever the instructions the spiritual master gives must be followed without any doubt. Then it is possible to get success in this very life. Well, success depends on various factors. Guru is always there to help, to guide you, to lead you towards the final goal of seeing God, communicating with God, finally becoming one with God. Unto that stage, Guru always follows you and you should always follow the Guru. So, everything must be very clear. There should not be any confusion in the spiritual matters. You have to take immediate steps where they are needed. So, as I said, the success depends on so many factors. One of the important factors is how far your mind is ready, how far the mind is pure enough, how far the impurities of the mind are removed from the mind. So each one's samskaras is different. And each one has to fight in his own way or in her own way. But the fighting must be done systematically and properly, then only you get success. Well, you need to know so many things. When we talk about Guru's grace, Guru is the one who always wishes spiritual welfare for you. Even though you may be in very difficult situations, even though at times you may lose faith in the presence of God, yet Guru is so graceful. He tries to see how you overcome that problem. But the point is, there should be a good relationship established, well established, between the Guru and the disciple. Why I am telling this point is that people are taking it very easily. Today you have one Guru, after 1 month you have another Guru. In the 3rd month you will have one more Guru. So in the period of 1 year you will have 12 Gurus. It is funny. And it becomes funny. And the result is you will reach nowhere. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a person digging the well. He is trying, he digs at a particular place, probably he is meeting some obstruction on the way, he leaves that, goes to the 2nd spot, digs for a while, go to 3rd spot, whole day he is spending time, he is not able to get a drop of water, and he will never get. You will never get. So, you are fooling yourself in that process. Fooling yourself in that process. So you have to be very careful when you are entering the realm of spirituality. Because spirituality needs your 100% practical application. Without practical application, your spiritual life will not have started at all. So, you must be always watchful and you must be always aware of your spiritual goal. That is the reason Swami Vivekananda gave that clarion call, arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached. That means the goal must be always in front of you. Every day, every moment you must think of your goal. That keeps you doing things properly. And the question of accepting the Guru and the Guru accepting the disciple, it is a very important step. So you have to go in search of a proper Guru, right type of Guru. It must be well authenticated, not bogus. So that's a difficult task, no doubt. But if you have real earnestness, God will provide you the Guru. And when the Guru really prays for the welfare of humanity, good disciples will come to the Guru. Both ways it works. So, Guru's play is very important in the life of the disciple aspiring for spiritual progress. The meaning of spiritual progress is that more and more you must turn towards God, less and less towards worldly things. That means the mind must be drawn more and more towards God, less and less towards worldly things. That means the mind should not be distracted too much towards the world. So you must develop a taste for spiritual life. That is possible only when you establish your contact with a holy person and you get in touch constantly with the holy atmosphere. Everything is important when it comes to spirituality. You can't neglect anything. So, Guru's role is very important, I said, because he takes the responsibility of the disciple. He feels very happy if the disciple is moving forward in the spiritual journey. So he sows the seed of spirituality in the soil of mind of his disciple. Now, Guru's power and his grace function through the mantra, a mystical formula which the Guru imparts to the disciple. And mantra becomes activated by constant repetition. That's why we always say, take this mantra, it is very sacred, and surrender yourself totally to this mantra. Don't think of anything else. Repeat this mantra as many times as possible so that the time should come that you should be always repeating God's name in your mind. Even though you are working, even though you are in the job, your mind is set on the mantra. Instead of mind running helter-skelter, it is fixing, it is sitting at the lotus feet of God. It is just enjoying the bliss of God. Even repeating God's name gives you peace of mind. So you must build up that format in your mind. That's very important. And this is the first step. The first step is Guru sowing the seed. That's very important. And I already mentioned to you, Guru is the one who always thinks of Brahman or God. And so, it is well established convention, and all the holy scriptures have declared that Guru is the very embodiment of God. Because he thinks of God and God alone. He thinks nothing other than that. So to a disciple, therefore, Guru is verily God himself. He is Brahma, he is Vishnu, he is Maheshwar. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha. We say in the prayers, it is really so. If you look upon Guru with that love and devotion, with that reverence, you are sure to improve in your spiritual life. So, Guru is the connecting link between God and the disciple. Sri Ramakrishna explains nicely about the categories of teachers. One type of teachers, he takes the example of a doctor, a medical doctor. A patient approaches the doctor looks at the patient, examines him, feels his pulse, and prescribes the necessary medicines and tells him, take this. That's all. He doesn't inquire later on whether he has taken the medicine, what is his condition. No. Simply prescribes the medicine and goes. That is the type of teachers you find, one category of teachers. They don't give much attention, or they won't really pay any value to their teachings and whether the disciples are following what they have told. They just give it and leave it there. There is not much involvement in that relationship. Sri Ramakrishna tells that. So, that's the first type of teachers you find as the first type of doctors. Another type of doctor, Sri Ramakrishna gives the example. He not only prescribes the medicine for the patient, he expostulates with him in case he shows any reluctance to take it. He persuades him to take it. He convinces him, well, you should take it. And he tries to make him understand the significance of taking the medicine. The spiritual teachers of this type leave no stone unturned to make the people walk in the ways of righteousness, devotion, and truth. They force them to follow this by gentle persuasion. That's why they keep on telling you, please be in touch with us. Have contact with us. Always discuss the spiritual matters. That way, they are trying to persuade the disciples, followers, to follow the spiritual life. There's another type of doctors. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of such type. He will proceed to use force with the patient in case his expostulation failed. The doctor of this type puts his knee on the chest of the patient and forces his medicine down his throat. Because the doctor knows very well it is very important that that patient should take that medicine. In order to save him, he forces him to take it. In the same way, the spiritual teachers of this type would use force, if necessary, with the disciples, with a view to making them walk in the path of the Lord. So there are broad classification of the teachers. And then Sri Ramakrishna tells the importance of having a guru. What is the necessity? Many people keep asking that. Do we have to have a guru? It's just like many people asking, can we see God? Many people keep on asking that. Even if somebody says, you can see God, even then they will ask, can we see God? Same way, is it necessary to have a guru? And again Sri Ramakrishna tells, suppose a man has gone to a new place, he needs some directions to proceed. So he has to take the help of a person who is well acquainted with the new place. But if he keeps on asking many people, instead of going in a proper way, he cannot reach the place at all, and he will end up with confusion. So, in the same way, in trying to reach God, one must implicitly follow the advice of one single spiritual master who knows the way to God. And Sri Ramakrishna gives a nice example. At the game of chess, the onlookers can tell what the correct move is better than the players themselves. In the same way, men of the world, people who are in the world, they think they are very clever, but they are attached to the things of the world. Money, name and fame, and many other things. As they are actually engaged in the play, it is very hard for them to hit upon the right move. It is holy people who have renounced the world, who are not attached to worldly things. They can guide properly. They are like the onlookers at a game of chess. They see things in their true light and can judge better than the men of the world. Hence, in living the holy life, one must put faith only in the words of those who meditate upon God and who have realized Him. If a man wants a legal advice, what he will do? He will consult an attorney who is in the profession. He will not take the advice of anybody in the street. If a person is very earnest in spiritual ways, God Himself will provide the proper teacher. The person need not take trouble of finding out the Guru. That's a very great statement of Sri Ramakrishna. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna himself, we see how all the Gurus came to Sri Ramakrishna, accepted him as a disciple, initiated him into a particular mode of practice, and he got success in every practice he undertook. So, the spiritual master, the Guru, plays a very important role in one's spiritual life. But there are subsidiary teachers, there is Upagurus. The Upagurus may be many. Who is Upaguru? He is an Upaguru from whom anything whatsoever is learned. Now, if a person follows the instructions of the Guru and follows them, all the doubts and troubles vanish. If a person has faith in the words of his Guru, God will meet all his wants. Holding him by the hand, He will lead him on the right path. Sri Ramakrishna gives a very good example to illustrate this point. Once a poor man came to a place, he wanted to see the king in the palace. The palace has 7 gates. Of course, before he has to enter into the palace, he has to take the permission from one of the ministers. And one of the king's minister grants poor man's request and leads him through the gates to the royal presence. At each gate there stands a richly dressed officer And every time the poor man asks the minister whether that was the king, because for him everything is exciting. The minister says, no, 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 this is not the king. But he leads him on. Come on, follow me. Then when they come to the seventh gate, the king stands before them in all his splendor and beauty. Then no question is asked. The man recognizes the king. So it is with the Guru. Like the king's minister, the Guru leads the disciple through different stages of spiritual unfoldment until he leaves him with the Lord. Look, this is your chosen ideal. And then Guru himself merges in that chosen deity. Service to the Guru is considered very important spiritual practice in the spiritual life of a person. It is very important at the preliminary stage. Later on, when the aspirant becomes strong enough in his spiritual ways, then his mind itself plays the part of the Guru. So, from the disciple point of view, he should not see Guru as an ordinary person. Though he looks ordinary as a human being, he is really extraordinary spiritual master. And the disciple should think the Guru's physical body is a temple of God. If the disciple serves the Guru with this idea, he acquires intense love for him, which later develops into an intense love for God. So, Guru is the one who shows the path to God through the mantra, as I said earlier. He gives the secret of spiritual practices. He watches over his disciple and protects him. So, Guru is always concerned about the welfare of the disciple. So one must have intense faith in the words of the Guru, which I said earlier, and then you will see how we can make remarkable progress. So, even though you may make many mistakes, yet all those mistakes can be rectified by the grace of the Guru. And so it is very important to have the Guru for one's spiritual life. The words of the Guru give a new turn to the life. And again Sri Ramakrishna tells, when a man is riding a bicycle, someone sees that the road he is taking will lead to danger, so it turns him round and starts him in another direction. The man keeps on pedaling as before, and the bicycle keeps on moving, but now the man is moving away from danger instead of towards it. Similarly, the Guru sees that the direction the disciple has taken is dangerous, so he turns him round. So all his activities may go on as before. He may keep on pedaling just the same, but now he is riding in a safe direction. So the Guru's work is to give the turn to the person in the right direction. And the disciple must have implicit faith in the Guru and the scripture. So you must be very strict about your struggles. your practices. Success depends on the sincerity and effort on the part of the disciple. Through spiritual practice, one will get unswerving faith in the words of the Guru, in the Lord, and in the scriptures. Now let us take some cases how the Guru's grace flows on the disciple and how the disciple is overwhelmed by Guru's grace. There is an incident in the life of Sri Shankaracharya, the exponent of Advaita, a great Acharya he was. He had 4 principal disciples. Each one of them was very great. And each one of them got the grace of the Guru. And Guru Shankaracharya, who had realized Brahman, who knew the reality, and who said one could realize his true self in this very life. One could be liberated while in this world. It is not after death you get salvation. No. Even when you are living in this world, you will know your true nature and you can experience the bliss of God. And Shankaracharya declared this number of times, and he made the people convinced about his point. Once he was traveling, he came to a place. There was a community living in a very orthodox way. Even now there are few communities in India who still follow orthodox disciplines, though it's very difficult nowadays to practice them. Still there are some people who do that. And this particular community were well versed in the scriptures. Every day they would recite the Vedic prayers and they would study Upanishads. And Sanskrit learning was very important. And they were devoted to the study. And spirituality was the essential part of their life. There was one family. The father's name was Prabhakar. He got a son. After many years, a son was born to them. He had lot of property. He was nothing to worry. And religious person. He wanted to see that his boy could be properly educated in the Vedic tradition. So he tried to teach him a lesson. He tried to take classes for him. But it so happened the boy could not speak at all. He was a dumb and he was behaving like an idiot. He grew up, he became very handsome, but that's all. He could not talk with people and he would not learn anything. He did not learn even alphabets. Father became very much worried, deeply worried. What happened? Though we are so much religious, though we are practicing all disciplines, still we got this son who doesn't show any interest in learning and who does not speak at all, who behaves like idiot, and the other boys would make fun of this boy because he was not coming to the play with them. Well, the father was deeply worried about this person. He did not know what to do. He was just waiting for some time. Probably some holy man might come. By his grace, everything would be all right. So, it so happened Shankaracharya came to that place where this community was living. And the parent came with this boy who was looking like idiot, who was a dumb. But Shankaracharya, the embodiment of compassion, he looked at this boy. He was very handsome, good looking. And he looked at the family. They were highly religious, very strict disciplinarians. Then he looked at the boy. He was very much impressed. And Sri Shankaracharya touched him and in order to give a spiritual awakening to that boy, he put a question. Who are you? Why are you behaving like this, like an inert thing? He is touching his real heart. The Shankaracharya's words were so powerful. They were mystical, full of grace. And it worked very well. Instantly the boy began to talk. And he began to speak about Atman. I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not this, I am not this, I am that Supreme Self. The consciousness, the indwelling consciousness. I am that consciousness. I am none of these external things. Like that he began to narrate. He began to compose hymns. That was astonishing to the father. First time the father was seeing that boy could speak so well, and not only that, even though he had not learnt any alphabets, now he could compose the Sanskrit poems, and he is praising Shankaracharya. So the father was immensely happy and peaceful. Then Shankaracharya says to him, look, this is not the place for your boy. He tells the father, this boy should come with me. And he became one of the principal disciples of Shankaracharya. You know, Shankaracharya established 4 mutts. They are very famous in India. And this particular mutt where Shankaracharya accepted this boy, it is Dwarkapit. It is one of the 4 mutts. It's also called Sharda Mutt. And their principal study is Samved. See, this is another interesting point. Shankaracharya established 4 mutts. In each mutt, one Veda is specialized. In this particular mutt, Dwaraka Pita, Samved was well studied. 4 Vedas are there: Rigveda, Yajurveda, Atharvaveda, Samveda. Samveda was here. And every Veda has got one principal statement. We call it as Mahavakya. And the Mahavakya of this Samveda, which is highlighted, is that Tattvamasi, thou art that. That's the that thou art. You are that. So that is the famous statement there. And the novices who are trained in that particular ashram there, during that period, they are called as Swarupa. And when they live that life for sufficient period of time, then they will become monks. When they become monks, the name is given as Tirtha or Ashrama, like that. Anyway, so this boy was accepted as a disciple by Shankaracharya, and he named him as Hastamalaka. Hastamalaka. The name also is very significant. The boy was so guileless and pure. This realization was at his hand. Anytime he could feel the presence of God. Now another incident in the same Shankaracharya's life, I am just telling you how Shankaracharya's grace flowed upon the disciple. This boy, his previous name was Giri. He was very devoted to the Guru. He came in search of spiritual knowledge, and he stayed in the hermitage, and he wanted to serve the Guru. This is a great example of what benefit the disciple would get by serving the Guru. And he was very meticulous. Everything he would do very attentively. He would never neglect anything. He would even anticipate, my Guru may want this. So even before Guru asked him, he would place it there. He had such intuition, and he was doing service very thoroughly, attending to all the personal needs of Shankaracharya. He was washing Swamiji's clothes also. Everything very nicely he would do. And Shankaracharya used to take classes for them every day. Even now in the mutts in India, every day they study Upanishads. And the disciples would sit and Shankaracharya would explain the scriptures. One particular day, the boy could not come because he had not finished the work he was doing. He was just washing the clothes of the Guru. It took about 2-3 minutes more for him to come to the class. Anyway, he was late. But then the other disciples, they were restless. They had some ego. They thought that boy who was washing the clothes of the Guru, he was not very much interested in the studies as they were. They thought like that. And they were more intelligent than him. So, that kind of wrong thinking entered into their mind, and the disciples, they started the peace chants. See, whenever the class is to be started, it starts with the peace chant. Just as I did prayer songs before the commencement of this talk. And Shankaracharya was taken aback. The disciples are starting the Shanti Mantra, indicating that the class should start. And Shankaracharya is a Jnana Purush. He could know everybody's mind. And what he did was, he just raised his hand and blessed that boy who was washing his clothes. Let him be illumined. Let him get the knowledge. See how his grace flowed. It had tremendous effect. As soon as he finished the washing and came to the class, he began to quote the scriptures. And it was surprising to all the disciples. Not only that, he began to comment upon the difficult statements of the Upanishads. And he became well versed. Not only that, he became well acquainted with 14 subjects. 14 subjects. All these things could happen on account of Guru's grace. Guru was immensely pleased at his single-minded devotion. And his main concern was, the disciples' attention was, to do service to the Guru. So, he was doing wholeheartedly, and Shankaracharya was impressed by his sincerity, and he go and serve a person. Then you see. Anyway, that boy became very famous, and Shankaracharya named him as Totakacharya, and he made them the head of the center. Hastamalaka became the head of the Dwarka Pita, and here Totakacharya became the head of Jyotir Math, that is in the north, near Himalayas, Jyotir Math. On the way to Kedar Badri, you find that. So their principal study is Atharva Ved. The highlight of that Atharva Ved, as I said, the Mahavakya, the famous statement. Each Veda has got famous statement. In this Atharva Veda, the highlighted statement is, I am Atma Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. This Atman is Brahman. And during their novices period, they will be called as Ananda, and when they get sannyas, they will be called as Giriya Parvat. Well, there is another disciple of Shankaracharya. His name was Padmapada. See, they were all very devoted to spiritual knowledge. And Shankaracharya wanted to test them. Sometimes the Guru tests the disciples. It's amazing. And in order to highlight the good qualities of the disciples, the Guru does such tests sometimes. You must know that Sri Ramakrishna also tested Vivekananda, how he became totally indifferent to him. When Vivekananda came to see Sri Ramakrishna would not even look at him, though he loved him very much previously. It's a test. But he passed through, and Vivekananda was coming to him as before, and Sri Ramakrishna amazingly asked him, well, I was so indifferent to you, I did not even look at you, I did not talk to you, in spite of it you are coming. What made you to come? How could you come? And he said, Swamiji, I come here because I love you. That was the answer. And Sri Ramakrishna was overwhelmed. And you see how Sri Ramakrishna's grace flowed upon Vivekananda. Sri Ramakrishna, Vivekananda himself says, showing his chest, he says, inside there is Sri Ramakrishna power working. And he says that when he came to West, Swamiji says, Sri Ramakrishna was always following him on his back. Like that. Now here, Shankaracharya wanted to test the disciples. The disciples were standing on the opposite side of Ganges, and Shankaracharya was calling them, come quickly. That was the, come quickly. And the Guru's words were heard by everyone. And some of the disciples were No doubt they wanted to come quickly, but how to come? How to cross? Either they should swim or they should take a boat. Swimming is possible only if they know swimming. Otherwise they have to come by boat. So they were searching for the boat to cross the river. But there was one disciple among them who never cared for anything else. He just wanted to immediately obey the Guru. The Guru has said, come quickly, let me go quickly. He just jumped into the river, running river. He was walking through, not caring about his life. But it so happened, he walked straight over the swiftly flowing waters of the Ganges, and Shankaracharya knew how that particular disciple was very upright, and he appreciated his total dedication and devotion. So what happened was, when he was walking swiftly, his each step was supported with a lotus of gold. Lotus of gold. So he crossed the river Ganga. Then, because at every step his step was being put on the lotus, so he was named after Padmapada. His name became Padmapada. Padma means lotus, and Padmapada was made the head of the Govardhan Math, that is in the eastern part of India. It is in Puri. Their Veda is Rigved. The highlight of that Rigved is Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman, the supreme knowledge. Now, the next one, that is the fourth one, in Sringeri, that is the first math which was established by Shankaracharya. The head of that math was Sureshwaracharya, his name. So, how he became the recipient of Guru's grace, that's very interesting. And before he took up sannyas, he was a householder. Not ordinary type of householder. Householder means who would follow strictly the Vedic way of life. A highly disciplined life. Highly disciplined life. Who believed in the Vedic rituals, and every day there would be some function going on in his home. He was very strict, very orthodox in his practices. His name was Mandana Mishra. And Shankaracharya went to him, discussed with him, called him for the debate, and established Vedanta. And according to the agreement, whoever is defeated must follow the person who has won. And Shankaracharya won in the debate, so Mandan Mishra had to renounce the world. He had to give up his wife, he had to give up his home, he had to give up everything. He had to become a monk. And he did become monk. He never hesitated. He felt totally assured by Guru's grace. He was pleased by the knowledge of the spiritual knowledge of Shankaracharya. And later on he was called as Sureshwaracharya. The principal Veda they study there is Yajurved, South Sringeri Math. The Mahavakya is Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Brahman. Who is this I? Do you think this I is this body? This little body will go away after some time. It is a mortal frame. One has to give up this body sometime or other. So there's one eternal thing. It is never dying. It is always there. It is never born. It is never dying. That is that supreme power. That is the supreme Brahman. So, like that, how the Guru would recognize the disciple and how the disciple would respond to the Guru by his qualities, so that Guru's grace would flow without any obstruction on the disciple. Now coming to Sri Ramakrishna, you will see how extraordinary grace of Sri Ramakrishna flowed upon the spiritual aspirants. Sri Ramakrishna became the teacher of the teachers. Paramagurubhyo Namaha. He became the supreme teacher, Sri Ramakrishna. Well, to give one example in Sri Ramakrishna's life, you find that, Totapuri, he was the guru of Sri Ramakrishna, who taught him how to meditate on non-dualistic aspect, how to meditate on formless aspect of Brahman, how everything is Brahman, nothing but Brahman. And of course, Sri Ramakrishna, because of his tremendous purity of mind, he could realize that Advaita state within 3 days of initiation. And he acknowledges that overwhelmingly. Sri Ramakrishna tells, by the grace of the Divine Mother, I got this realization. Grace of the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna valued the grace very much. So, well, one day, Totapuri and Sri Ramakrishna were sitting and discussing about certain spiritual matters, about Brahman, the nature of the world, and things like that. And Totapuri had a fire in his front. According to that discipline, the Totapuri would always have a fire in his front, and he would sit and meditate in front of the fire. The fire was very sacred to him. So, when they were discussing in front of the fire, they were discussing spiritual matters, and Totapuri was totally involved in the discussion. Suddenly, a gardener came there. Suddenly, he just wanted to have a smoke. So he took some burning cinder from the fire in order to light up his tobacco pipe. Everything was done in few seconds. Immediately, Totapuri came to know that somebody came and touched his fire. He became extremely angry. Terrible anger. He was furious. He went to the extent of even beating him. Because, as I said, the fire was so sacred to him and he did not want anybody else to touch it. Well, seeing that, Sri Ramakrishna laughed loudly. And Totapuri was shocked. What? I am showing so much of anger and Sri Ramakrishna is laughing so loudly. And then he asked him, why? Why are you laughing? And Sri Ramakrishna explained at the behavior of the Totapuri, or wretchedness, or forgetfulness. Sri Ramakrishna said this over and over again. And again laughed and rolled on the ground. And then Sri Ramakrishna explained to him, love, See, just now we were discussing spiritual matters. There is nothing except Brahman, and all things and persons in the universe are merely its manifestations. We were discussing these matters and we were acknowledging it, but forgetting everything. You are ready to beat that man. So I laugh to think of the omnipotence of Maya. That is Maya. This utterance of Sri Ramakrishna, it gave a shock treatment to Totapuri. He got an awakening and he felt it is the grace of Sri Ramakrishna that gave him that awakening. Totapuri felt that and he said, well, Sri Ramakrishna, you are quite right. Under the influence of anger, I forgot everything indeed. Anger is surely a very nasty thing. I give it up this very moment. I give it up this very moment. Since that day, Totapuri was never seen to be angry again. He was never seen to be angry at all. So, see how Sri Ramakrishna's grace worked here, and he wanted to correct him. He was the right person, because no doubt he had done spiritual practice 40 years and he had realized God in his own way, but it's a partial realization. He wanted to make his realization complete. So there was little correction to be made, and Sri Ramakrishna did that. And Totapuri was highly pleased. There's another instance. There were many spiritual aspirants who were struggling very hard in their life. And two people were very prominent. For our purpose here, I am talking about them. Their name was Chandra and Girija. Both of them were lovers of God. One of them, Chandra, he got a power, a miracle, working on a tiny ball. So, by that power, he could become invisible. He was not being seen by others. He could go anywhere using that power. So, that was the danger, because he fell into worldly ways on account of that power. There's another person, his name was Girija. When once Sri Ramakrishna wanted to come back from a garden house to the Dakshineshwar temple, it was pitch dark. There was no light, there was no lantern. And Sri Ramakrishna was thinking about how to go. Then this particular devotee, he turned his back. From the back, a beacon of light issued forth, which would reach up to the gate of the Dakshineshwar temple. And Sri Ramakrishna warned them, these powers are dangerous from the spiritual point of view. So, in order to show grace to them, what Sri Ramakrishna did was, their powers were destroyed by Sri Ramakrishna. So, he did that so that their minds went towards God, because there is no more distraction, and the root of egotism destroyed. They got real awakening, and they immensely were pleased by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. With redoubled energy, they practiced disciplines leading to God realization. They got the vision of God finally. So, God's grace flows through many channels. The main channel is through the Guru. And to accept the Guru, particularly in modern times, it's very difficult to find out who is the real Guru and how to find a person who has realized Brahman. But then there are well-established traditions. For example, if you take Sri Ramakrishna and his followers, the Ramakrishna order, what they do, it is Sri Ramakrishna's power working through the followers of Sri Ramakrishna. It is Sri Ramakrishna's energy only, it is Sri Ramakrishna's power only that works. Even if a monk of the Ramakrishna order gives initiation, it is Sri Ramakrishna's own grace flowing through that person to the disciple. So all the responsibility is taken by Sri Ramakrishna himself. That is the tradition established by the Ramakrishna order. So we see that the president and the vice president of the Ramakrishna mission and the heads of the centers of Ramakrishna mission all over the world, they initiate the disciples, they make them follow the teachings of Vedanta, and thereby all these disciples are being connected to the mainstream of Vedanta. They are all coming to Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna is the ocean of knowledge, ocean of spirituality. So all of them are made to go and take bath in that ocean. So Guru's grace is so important for the spiritual progress. So maintain that high attitude, high spiritual attitude of reverence, love and devotion towards the Guru. If you can maintain that, you feel it's very easy to walk in the spiritual way. With Guru's grace, it is easy to follow the spiritual disciplines. With these words, I conclude my talk. Thank you very much. We have got special puja of Sri Ramachandra, one of the incarnations of God. It's a very important day. We are celebrating Sri Rama's birthday on Saturday, April 15th. Saturday. Morning, 10:30. Program begins with bhajans, brief talk and special worship. Then prasad will be served to everyone. There's another program. This is a very special program we have arranged. That is Bhajan Sandhya. Bhajan Sandhya. That is devotional songs sung by Sri Purushottam Das Jalota. Purushottam Das Jalota, a famous musician. This is a fundraising program because we need to take up many works in Ganges, which we are doing. So please try to attend this program also. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. May the Lord bless us. May He nourish us. May the knowledge be illuminating. May we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.